basically, this is essentially the Mars 2020 mission. So the rover was named Perseverance, and it's a really sophisticated rover. It can do so many different things: drilling, rock analysis, chemistry, mineralogy.
NASA has a Mars problem. A man claiming to be a high-level insider just released a confession alleging a decades-long cover-up. He says NASA knows about past life, present life, and even secret human activity on the Red Planet. This aligns with Gilbert Levin, the Viking scientist who insisted he found life in 1976. We're exposing the new 2025 Perseverance data, the insider's terrifying claims about lost astronauts, and what really happened during that first contact. The official story is not the whole story. The NASA whistleblower, the truth, as they say, is out there. But for Mars, it might be buried under decades of secrets. In early 2025, a short, grainy video clip began circulating in dark corners of the web. It shows a man, his face obscured by shadow, his voice weak. He claims to be a former NASA insider, a high-level engineer who had access to data nobody else was allowed to see. And he claims he is running out of time. His confession is terrifying. He doesn't just talk about microbes. He talks about secret bases, lost astronauts, and a frantic cover-up after probes extinguished active life. To put it mildly, these are wild claims. Many people are crazy about theories like this, and it's easy to dismiss him as a hoax. But here's the kicker. His admission lines up perfectly with two things: a brand new bombshell discovery by the Perseverance rover and a 49-year-old controversy that NASA thought it had buried for good. Let's start with the new evidence. In 2025, NASA's Perseverance rover, which has been exploring the Jezero crater, made its most stunning finding to date. It was examining a spot called Chayava Falls, and what it found has astrobiologists scrambling. The rover's instruments detected complex nodules, tiny, bumpy structures laced with organic compounds. These aren't just any organics. The textures are eerily similar to microbial mats found on Earth, structures built by entire communities of microorganisms. Dr. Lindsay Hayes, a top NASA astrobiologist, went on record saying this is the clearest sign yet of life. The thing nobody tells you is how clear. The insider in his clip specifically mentions that Perseverance would find the fossils of the things we wiped out. Is this what he meant? These nodules preserved in rock could be the ghosts of a biosphere we unknowingly contacted and then destroyed. But the insider's claims go even further. He references Project Aquarius, a supposedly top-secret program that started after a radio hoax in 1979. A caller named Jackie claimed she was a former NASA employee who saw suited figures, human figures, walking on the surface of Mars via a live feed from the Viking lander. The story was officially debunked, but the insider claims it wasn't a hoax. He says it was a leak. He claims Project Aquarius was the black-budget mission to find out who those figures were, and that several lost astronauts were part of this secret program, their communication feeds cut off forever. This is where the story gets really dark. The insider claims these missions and the original Viking mission were all part of a cosmic tragedy. He says we didn't just find fossils, we found living things, and in our clumsy, arrogant attempt to study them, we ended them. This sounds impossible, but it connects directly to the oldest, most painful mystery in NASA history. The story of a man who, like this new insider, went to his grave insisting he had proof of life on Mars. His name was Gilbert Levin, and his experiment from 1976 is the smoking gun at the center of this entire conspiracy. He was the original insider, the one they silenced for decades. But the new confession is even more terrifying than Levin's. Gilbert Levin's revenge. To understand what really happened on Mars, we have to go back to 1976. The Cold War was raging, and the space race was everything. NASA landed two identical probes on the Red Planet, Viking 1 and Viking 2. They were technological marvels, the first machines to ever successfully operate on the Martian surface. Their mission was simple: find life. And to do that, they brought a tiny billion-dollar biological laboratory. One of those experiments was called the Labeled Release, or LR. It was the brainchild of an engineer and scientist named Gilbert Levin. The thing nobody tells you about this experiment is how simple and elegant it was. The plan was to scoop up some Martian soil, put it in a tiny cup, and feed it. That's it. It was given a drop of nutrient soup, which was tagged with radioactive carbon-14. The theory was, if there were living microbes in the soil, they would eat the soup and exhale radioactive carbon dioxide gas. The lander's sensors would then detect that gas. It was a perfect, simple test for metabolism. When the first test ran on Viking 1, the results were instantaneous and shocking. The gas sensors went wild. They detected a massive spike in radioactive gas, exactly what Levin expected to see if life was present. To be sure, they ran a control test. They took another soil sample, baked it at over 300 degrees Fahrenheit to sterilize it, and then fed it the soup. This time, nothing. Silence. The soil was inert. Levin was ecstatic. He believed he had done it. He had found life on Mars. But NASA's top brass immediately hit the brakes. Why? Because another experiment on the lander, one designed to find organic molecules, the building blocks of life, found nothing. This was a huge contradiction. How could you have living, breathing microbes, but no organic molecules? Not even the bodies of the microbes themselves. NASA headquarters, in a decision that would haunt the agency for 50 years, declared the result a false positive. They announced that Levin hadn't found life. He had just found some weird, exotic chemistry. They claimed that chemicals in the soil, like perchlorates, must have just reacted with the nutrient soup, mimicking the signal of life. Gilbert Levin never accepted that. For the next 45 years until he passed away in 2021, he fought NASA. He published papers, gave lectures, and begged the agency to re-examine the data. He insisted that the no organics result was the flaw, not his life-positive signal. He argued the other instrument just wasn't sensitive enough to detect the microbes. He was dismissed as a crank, a sore loser. But here's where the insider's confession snaps into focus. The new 2025 insider claims NASA knew Levin was right. The agency panicked. They couldn't announce they had found life and then admit they had no way to study it without contaminating it. Or vice versa. But worse, they were terrified of what that life was. What many overlooked is that our modern science now proves Levin was almost certainly correct. In 2008, the Phoenix lander, the next probe to land on Mars with a wet chemistry kit, confirmed the soil was full of those perchlorate chemicals. But in the years since, scientists on Earth have found extremophile microbes that thrive on perchlorates. In fact, some, like archaea in the high-salt deserts of Earth, use it as an energy source. And then came the AI. In 2025, the same year as the Insider's clip, scientists ran the original 50-year-old Viking data through a modern artificial intelligence analysis. The AI concluded the pyrolytic reactions, the gas sparks, were far more consistent with biological processes than with pure chemistry. Levin had been right. The Insider was right. We found life in 1976. But the story gets even darker. Levin and the Insider both claim we extinguished it. How? The Phoenix lander in 2008 gave us the clue. Its wet chemistry kit drowned the samples. Mars is an arid world. The life there is likely adapted to tiny amounts of moisture. The Viking experiment, by dumping a soup of water and nutrients on them, may have been a fatal shock. We fed them, and in the process, we may have flooded, poisoned, or chemically burned them. We didn't just find life, we met it by wiping it out. But this mistake only explains microbes. It doesn't explain the other part of the Insider's confession, the suited figures. The official story on that is a complete fabrication. The men on Mars. On October 25th, 1979, something very strange happened on American radio. A late-night call-in show was interrupted by a frantic-sounding woman who identified herself only as Jackie. She claimed to be an ex-NASA employee, someone who used to work on the downlink telemetry for the Viking mission. She was, to put it mildly, terrified. She told the host that NASA was covering up a horrifying secret. She said that while monitoring the live feed from the Viking lander, she and her colleagues saw something they were ordered to forget. It wasn't microbes, it was two figures, in spacesuits, walking on the surface of Mars. She claimed the feed was immediately cut, and NASA officials came down and told them what they saw was a hallucination or a test. She claimed she was fired for security reasons shortly after. The call became a legend, known as the Jackie hoax. NASA, of course, issued a statement that no such event ever happened. It was dismissed as radio theater, a prank. But the 2025 insider, in his final confession, says it was real. He claims Jackie was a real person and her story was a genuine leak that sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. According to his admission, this event is what triggered the creation of a deeply buried black budget program called Project Aquarius. This is where the story goes from science to something else entirely. The insider claims Project Aquarius, funded by a budget siphoned from the military, was a secret human mission to Mars. Not with rovers, but with people. He alleges that in the 1980s, a secret craft, using technology far beyond what was publicly known, sent a small team to the Red Planet. Their mission, to investigate the anomaly that Jackie saw. This sounds insane. We all know the first human mission to Mars is planned for the 2030s, but supporters of this theory point to a mountain of other evidence. They point to the face on Mars, another Viking-era anomaly. In 1976, the Viking 1 orbiter snapped a picture of a region called Cydonia. In the photo, a massive, mile-long mesa looked, well, like a human face staring up into space. NASA dismissed it as a trick of light and shadow, a hill. And to be fair, later, higher-resolution photos from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter showed it was, in fact, a heavily eroded natural formation. But the theorists don't buy it. They claim the new photos were altered. They also point to the Mars monolith, a perfectly rectangular, sharp-edged object spotted by that same orbiter. It looks unnatural, like something purposefully built. Scientists say it's just a block of rock, but the insider claims it's a marker. But the wildest theory he mentions is about the green flashes. In the early 2000s, amateur astronomers began reporting strange, bright green flashes in the Martian atmosphere. The official explanation is that they are auroras, like our northern lights, caused by solar wind hitting the thin atmosphere. But the insider's story is different. He claims these flashes are not natural. He alleges they are the byproduct of a revived magnetosphere, a planetary shield being rebooted by technology left behind, or by the secret human missions of Project Aquarius. The insider claims the lost astronauts he mentioned were part of this program. He says their mission went dark in the late 80s, and NASA, under military orders, classified the entire event, erasing the astronauts from all records. They were left on Mars, just as the insider whispered in his clip. This is the ultimate cover-up, he claims. It's not about microbes. It's about a secret human war, a hidden colony, or a first contact gone horribly wrong. This is the very definition of a wild theory. It's 80% speculation, built on a foundation of grainy photos and old radio calls. And yet, the planet itself is confessing, and its secrets are just as strange. The Maven Confession. While the conspiracy theories about secret bases and lost astronauts are dramatic, the real admissions from NASA insiders, the scientists themselves, are, in their own way, just as shocking. The planet Mars that we see today is a ghost. It's a frozen, rust-colored graveyard. But the thing nobody tells you is that this wasn't always the case. The data sent back by our probes in the last few years paints a picture of a planet that was violently ended. The first major confession came from the InSight lander. InSight's job wasn't to look for life, but to listen. It was a robotic geologist placing a seismometer on the surface to take the planet's pulse. What it found was astonishing. Mars's heart is beating erratically. The core is not solid, but it's not a healthy molten core like Earth's. It's a strange, sloshing, unpredictable mess. Even more shocking was the reason why. InSight's data, combined with surface geology, points to a cataclysmic event deep in Mars' past. A Theia-like smash-up. You see, scientists believe Earth got its moon when a Mars-sized planet named Theia slammed into us billions of years ago. The new data suggests Mars suffered a similar, planet-altering impact. An object of immense size struck the planet, shattering its crust, scrambling its core, and fundamentally ending its chances of becoming a second Earth. This wasn't a slow decline, it was a planetary catastrophe. Then there's the Maven orbiter. Maven's mission was to figure out where all the air went. Mars clearly had a thick atmosphere once. It needed it to support the other massive discovery, the lost ocean. Data from the Curiosity rover in 2020 proved that its landing site, Gale Crater, was once a series of neutral pH lakes, not acid-filled hells, but calm freshwater lakes that could have supported diverse life for millions of years. So, where did the water and air go? MAVEN's 2025 data provided the final grim admission. With its magnetic field scrambled by the giant impact, Mars was left naked. MAVEN's sensors watched, in real time, as the solar wind, a constant stream of particles from the sun, slammed into Mars and stripped its atmosphere away, molecule by molecule. It's still happening today. We are watching a planet being slowly flayed, its air and water blasted into deep space. This is the real story of what happened on Mars. It was a world of oceans, winds, and perhaps life. And it perished. But this data also tells us something else. If life did survive, it would have been forced underground. The MAVEN data suggests that any refugia, safe zones for life, must be deep beneath the surface, protected from the sun's radiation and the wind. This lines up with what the insider said. It also explains why we've never seen anything obvious on the surface. And this leads to the other NASA confession, the one that's less about the planet and more about us. It's called Chapia. This is a year-long simulation on Earth where crewmates are locked inside a tiny 1,700 square foot habitat to simulate a Mars mission. The insiders running this experiment are admitting something crucial. Humans are the weak link. The crews crack under the isolation. They suffer depression, anxiety, and conflict. The insider confession might not be about aliens after all. What if the real secret NASA is hiding isn't what's on Mars, but that we aren't ready to go, that we are too fragile to make the journey? What many overlooked is that the biggest secret in space exploration might be our own human frailty. So where does that leave the ultimate question? Is there life? One final mission is designed to answer that, once and for all. Levin's vindication. For 50 years, the debate has been theoretical. It's all been based on robotic data, sensor readings, and grainy photos. But all of that is about to change. The Perseverance rover has, for the past several years, been drilling rock cores, like the ones from Chayava Falls, and sealing them in ultra-clean titanium tubes. It has been dropping these tubes on the surface, creating a depot of Martian samples. The next great mission, scheduled for 2031, is the sample return. NASA and the European Space Agency are sending a lander and a small rocket to that exact spot. A set of helicopters will fly out, grab those tubes, and launch them back into Mars orbit. A catcher spacecraft will snag them and fly them all the way back to Earth. This is the ultimate admission. After 50 years of saying no life, NASA is spending billions of dollars to bring back the very rocks that their own astrobiologists say have the clearest sign yet of biology. This mission is the confession. It's the agency finally admitting, we can't figure this out from there. We have to bring it home. This is the mission that will vindicate Gilbert Levin. His admission wasn't a deathbed confession. It was a defiant, lifelong scientific argument. He died in 2021, but the 2031 sample return is his final victory. When those rocks are opened in the world's most secure labs, scientists will finally be able to test them, not with a clumsy waterlogged robot, but with the full power of Earth's technology. They will find out what really happened. People watching this are looking for a mystery. They wonder if all this happened overnight, if the insider is telling the truth, if we are missing a key detail. The thing is, the real shock isn't that Mars might have life. The real shock, the one all the data supports, is that Mars did have life. It had oceans, it had air, it had neutral lakes, and it had microbial communities. The planet we are looking at is a crime scene. Forget the simple stories. The insiders, not the shadow figures, but the real ones. The scientists in sterile labs aren't confessing to a cover-up of little green men. Their confession is far more profound, far more unsettling. They are admitting that we drift through a cosmos where entire worlds can ignite with life, flourish for millennia, and then be snuffed out in an instant by a random, indifferent cosmic catastrophe. This isn't about them, it's about us. They are cautioning us about our own blinding hubris, our delusion of permanence in a universe that plays by brutal rules. That grainy 2025 insider clip causing panic? It's likely a well-crafted hoax. The breathless tales circulating online of Project Aquarius, secret moon bases, and tragically lost astronauts are almost certainly elaborate fiction. They are distractions. But like all effective disinformation, they are built around a kernel of terrifying, verifiable truth. They are designed to muddy the waters, to hide the real secret by wrapping it in the absurd. While we chase phantom UFOs, the real evidence is being ignored. We did find something in 1976, the Viking landers. The data was confusing, ambiguous, and ultimately dismissed. We misunderstood what we were looking at. We weren't ready to see it. Now, decades later, we are finally going back, not with ambiguity, but with focus. We are going back to get the proof. The real truth, the one that changes everything about our place in the void, isn't in a classified file. The truth about what really happened on Mars is waiting right now, sealed in a titanium tube on the red planet's surface. What do you think? Is NASA covering up secret missions, or just a 50-year-old mistake? Let us know below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more secrets.